I've seen a lot of broken quirks in My Hero Academia, but I gotta say, Star and Stripe's quirk appears to be very, very broken. I mean, yes, there is some limitations. There is some rules that Star and Stripe has, which I'm going to talk about. But when you really just take a look at what her quirk is actually capable of, reality bending, it's kind of scary. Like, I mean, we've had stuff like Airy in the past, and Airy is broken. That's a whole other can of beans that, I just don't want to unpackage right now in this video. And then, we also have other characters that have been introduced, and then we got, let's say, All for One and One for All, and then we have, now Star and Stripe. There is some broken quirks we have seen. We have seen a lot of broken quirks over the course of My Hero Academia. But my goodness, Star and Stripe, literally being able to change the rules of reality itself to, do what she wants. Kind of scary, kind of broken, and I cannot imagine if Shigaraki slash All for One was actually able to get their hands on that quirk. I don't truly believe it's going to happen, I want to be honest with you. I am one of those type of individuals right now that's reading the story and believes that Star and Stripe's quirk is not going to get stolen. I don't believe it. And the reason why is because Shigaraki slash All for One has already just been built up to be this monstrosity that really just can't be stopped. It's just like, he's the most OP villain right now. And we already know that Izuku's been building up to be able to fight as well, and he's gotten a lot of improvements. And I feel like throwing in Star and Stripe's quirk New Order would just unbalance the playing field. And I feel like it would just hit way too high into Shigaraki's favor, and it just, I don't know, I feel like that would be the only main quirk that Shigaraki would use, which would be, New Order. So yeah, it's food for thought. I just don't think that Shigaraki's going to get that quirk, or All for One's going to get that quirk. But it's up for debate on how the fight is actually going to end, and I want to discuss that in the video. But I want to talk about Star and Stripe's quirk, New Order, because I know there's a lot of crazy stuff with Shigaraki to happen in this chapter, especially with him figuring out, like, his new self. But I want to really dive into the quirk because it's fascinating, and I want to talk about its limitations and also its strengths and weaknesses. So, to kind of summarize the quirk in the best way, I think, is to kind of compare it to a Death Note. Think about it. I mean, when you think about the limitations of a Death Note that Light was able to use, he had to picture someone's face, write down their name, and then 40 seconds later, they would die of a heart attack. Obviously, he could add more extension to the lines. For instance, have him do what he wants. Example, like, the person will walk down the stairs, go get something to eat, and then he will go back home, chill for the rest of the day, and then die of a heart attack. There was things that Light could do to kind of expand upon the limitations of his Death Note, but overall, it had its weaknesses. There was only a certain amount of things he could do. And when you look at Star and Stripes reality bending that's called New Order, it follows a very similar theme. Example, just like how Light had to picture someone's face and know their name, Star and Stripe has to put her hand on the object that she's trying to change a rule for, and also she has to say its name. So example, if she doesn't know the name of the person, she's not able to bend reality of that person. Example, what happened at the end of the chapter. With her putting her hand on Shigaraki, and it's like, if Tomura Shigaraki is to make any form of move, his heart would stop. Obviously, it did not work, and I'll talk about that in a moment. If she doesn't know the name, she cannot have her quirk's effect applied, which follows the rule of the Death Note. If someone is to have a different name and they don't have a real name that anyone knows, you can't really get rid of them, even if you have seen their face. So that is the point I'm bringing up, is that when you look at Star and Stripe's quirk, it follows that very same formula. Yes, it's not one-by-one copy. Yes, there is some differences. But overall, you cannot deny that Star and Stripe's quirk New Order is reminiscent of Death Note itself. But, obviously, let's dive into the strengths and weaknesses. So, the weaknesses of the quirk is that Star and Stripe is only capable of using 2 rules at once. So she's not able to apply a new rule back-to-back without stop. For instance, she's not able to say, oh, I have super strength. She's not able to say, I have, laser vision. I'm not able to go Mach speed. She can't apply these rules back to back instantly and keep them all active at the same time. She can only have 2 active rules at one given time. So for instance, she applies super strength always to herself, and the other one is flexible to be able to use for other people or being able to fight her opponent. So there is a limitation. So she's not able to just like cover a widespread area with crazy amount of different rules. She does have that flaw. So that does balance her out to a certain degree, and it does make me wonder if, let's say, All For One and Shigaraki was to get their hands on the said quirk, if those same rules and stipulations would actually apply. That is what I'm curious about. Another thing I do want to talk about is the fact that with her super strength, she mentions that she has super strength, but it is not as strong as All Might. And this led me to really thinking about the way that was worded and why maybe her quirk, even though it's reality bending, was not able to even match someone like All Might, even though we now know Izuku is going to be way above what All Might was in his prime. The thing is we gotta think about what she saw when she was a child. When she was a child, she saw this hero jump in, save the day, and she was inspired. I mean, she even talks about her hair and all that was kind of reminiscent. It's kind of a homage to All Might. And when you think about it, maybe the reason why, when she applies the super strength to herself, isn't stronger than All Might is because she could never imagine herself being stronger than All Might. And I feel like her mental image on how she applies that probably has a huge effect on how the rule is done for the world. And so I feel like because she feels like she can never be stronger than All Might, the symbol of peace, that's why her super strength comes up short. However, if she felt she was more powerful than him, I feel like she would potentially be stronger than All Might. Now, I could be wrong with that theory, but that is my personal guess, just judging by how she idolizes All Might to such a degree. Now, there's another thing to talk about. If, let's say, hypothetically, it isn't because she thinks she can never be as strong as him, but she actually just isn't as strong as All Might, that means that the quirk does have overall threshold limitations. She cannot say that she's basically a god and just wipe out the entire planet with one punch. Because theoretically, if we're actually talking about, what her ability is, reality bending itself, she theoretically could do something like that. Like, maybe punch a chunk of the planet in pieces. Like, that's scary to think about. So, all I'm saying is that we don't know the threshold. We don't know exactly if it's because of the mental image, or if it is just like, she can't obtain that level because it's just not possible. Whatever it may be, that is a weakness. Now, the strength of her quirk that we have actually seen is that she is able to really kind of demonstrate she can affect regular objects, like non-living objects and living objects, like what she did with Shigaraki, what she did with herself, and also what she did with the air. So she is able to literally, let's say, defy reality and say, 100 meters in front of me, the air no longer exists. It's not there, which created a vacuum, and we saw what happened to Shigaraki. Or you have it to where a laser's coming at her, she's like, I am able to grab a laser, which is just ridiculous to think about, but she grabbed a laser, which is basically light itself, and was able to just throw it away. So, when you think about it, she is capable of some incredible feats. She is able to do things that are outright insane. I mean, she's able to literally tell Shigaraki, like, if he used to make any moves, his heart would actually stop. Which shows that maybe there is a limitation there as well. Like, maybe she cannot outright say that, oh, you can just die or whatever. I don't think that she can do that. Because when I look at her quirk, it doesn't seem like it's more of commanding. It seems more of like she has to create a rule around an object and then have that object actually follow that said rule. Example, let's talk about a car. Let's say she's like, okay, this car now, even though it has no wheels, it can now drive. And basically, if someone was to, like, get in the vehicle, turn it on, and try to drive it, the vehicle would actually drive without tires. I feel like that's kind of what her quirk is capable of. She can't command it to drive, like, this vehicle will now drive. It has to actually, like, have some form of rule to apply to it for it to actually do the reality bending. So that goes along with the name. If she doesn't know the name of an object, she's not able to actually, let's say, change it. So yeah, it's food for thought. Her quirk is incredibly powerful. I feel like there's some weaknesses, but incredibly powerful. And I'm excited to see the upcoming chapters on how she fights Shigaraki. So Shigaraki mentions that he feels like when he is, like, talked to as Tomura Shigaraki, it is him. And also he feels like he is All For One. And it's a really fascinating subject, because it's like he has been fighting control over his body for a while now, for like a month. And we get to see an inner monologue of All For One and Shigaraki having a dispute. They're both fighting for control over the body, and they both have their own viewpoints of how they feel about it and what they actually want to happen. On one hand, you see All For One's like, wait a minute, because of your hatred, because of what's going on, we are merging into a new entity. We are not becoming All For One, we are not becoming Shigaraki, we are becoming something new, a new being itself, a new person will be born. And the quirk of All For One is excited about this, really excited to see what they actually will become. While Shigaraki is someone that is not excited, and he is someone that, because of his hatred, and because of him not wanting to actually join All For One, it's actually increasing the progress of the merging. So what this effectively meant, at least what I got from the chapter, is that the only way for Shigaraki to stop the merging of All For One in himself, and for him to maintain his own sense of self, is by letting go of his hatred. However, we know how ingrained that is into Shigaraki. However, destruction is more ingrained into Shigaraki than hatred. That is Shigaraki's main personality trait, is destruction itself. And what better way to really showcase that destruction than by destroying the very entity that is trying to take over his very body, his mind and soul. I feel like when I look at this, Shigaraki is obviously going to go through a change, and he's probably going to accept his original name, which is Tenko Shimura. Because we know that was his original name. It wasn't Shigaraki Tomura, it was Tenko Shimura. And I feel like maybe that's one of the reasons why Star and Stripe's Quirk was not able to work, is because his original name is actually fundamentally different. That's his legal born name, and it isn't actually Shigaraki. But I've already talked about Star and Stripe enough. Let's get back into Shigaraki. The point is that I feel like Shigaraki will change, but he's going to get rid of Shigaraki Tomura, and he will become his original name. And I feel like that's what this is leading to, especially with the ending of the chapter going back to the house where it all began. He is merging and becoming something new. He's evolving as an individual, but I feel like he is going to overpower All For One and become his own man, and not actually have to have his master always there whispering into his ear. But yeah, it's interesting. He is becoming a new entity, and I wonder who will reign supreme, because it's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, as much as I love All For One, I don't like Shigaraki's character being sacrificed for All For One to stay around. I want Shigaraki to be the main front and center character, because we've had a lot of development with him. He's been the character alongside of Izuku, like the parallel, for a long time on the villain's path. So I really do like Shigaraki, and I would hate to see him just thrown away for All For One to take control of the body. And I doubt that's what's going to happen. What's going on now is pretty much Shigaraki surpassing All For One. And we already had like an entire arc dedicated to that when you think about it. There was an entire arc dedicated to, let's say, Izuku overcoming All Might, and we know there's always parallels between Shigaraki and Izuku, and I feel like that's what's happening here, is that Shigaraki is having his parallel, his fight, his moment to finally break the shackles of All For One and become his own man itself, and no longer need to rely on him whatsoever. He will, obtain the quirk and make the quirk his own. That's what's probably happening right now. So, I feel like there's a lot of excitement, a lot of great things that are about to happen, and I don't think that Star and Stripe's going to lose this fight. I'm going to be honest. I feel like, looking at how the fight's being done, yes, people are going to say Shigaraki is going to win this, but I feel like Star and Stripe is going to do something that is really crusty. She's either going to say, I'm immortal, I can't be killed, or you can't steal my quirk, or, she's going to put a rule on, Shigaraki saying you can no longer steal quirks, something like that. I feel like there is going to be something done by Star and Stripe that is going to effectively mean that she still wins in the end, even if Shigaraki looks like he is going to overpower her. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. Well, I guess I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you got this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.